The following entry is regarding my recent experience with Pokemon X. Having purchased the game a week after it was released, I was considerably far behind in completing the story mode as compared to everyone else. I opted to take my time and enjoy the experience with the game, and I felt more enjoyment for the game than I had from a Pokemon game since Soul Silver. Inevitably, I would have a battle with my cousin, who has been my rival since 1998. I anticipated the battle would come after I had completed the story. Alas, that was not the case. I was challenged after rescuing a Abomasnow from Team Flare. Not wanting to back down from the challenge, I spent the next day EV training with as many Pokemon as I could, as I was informed that the Pokemon taking part were moved to level 50. I engaged in the new Super Training, which only granted me enough time to fully train 3 new Pokemon. The 3 that I chose were 3 that seemed to have the most potential out of the lackluster total amount of Pokemon that I had in my box. They were Lapras, Miltank, and Lucario. I prepared my team. Lapras would be a bulky toxic tank, Miltank would be a bulky Thunder Wave tank, Lucario, or rather Mega Lucario, would be a physical sweeper. The other 3 Pokemon were from my in-game team. Delphox would be a special sweeper, Venusaur was a bulky threat with Venoshock, and Toxicroak was another physical sweeper, rounding it out with Sucker Punch. Before I knew it, the battle was beginning. It was clear from the very beginning that my opponent had spent a lot of time preparing this new team of his. A Volt-switching Galvantula, a powerhouse Garchomp, a surprisingly effective Klefki, a tricky Protean Greninja, and an unbeatable Aegislash proved to be an absolute disaster for my underdog team. He obliterated me 5-0. He soon discovered that I hadn't finished the game yet and took pity on me. Throwing a team together with 3 EV-trained Pokemon and 3 in-game Pokemon, as I had, he challenged me to a rematch. Having nothing to lose, I accepted. This time, the battle was much more evenly matched. He led with a Steelix, which he didn't even realize was without the Sturdy ability, resulting in an immediate 6-5 lead in my favor. His Aegislash once again proved to be an unbelievable threat, healing my paralysis with his in-game Florges aromatherapy. Slowly, he whittled me down to 0, with 2 of his Pokemon remaining. It was unanimous. He was the superior Pokemon trainer. He departed, beckoning me to improve before our next battle. My head hung in shame. Perhaps I just wasn't cut out for competitive battling anymore, I thought to myself. The metagame was evolving too quickly for me to keep up. Mentally, I still felt as if I was back in Generation 4. With all the new mechanics and strategies and competition, perhaps it was time for me to give it up for good. I deposited the 3 Pokemon I just EV trained into my newly discovered battle box and returned to the in-game story, with all the intention to never use those 3 Pokemon again. Even in my depressed state, I still found enjoyment in the main story of the game. Every little joke or reference or bit of music put a much-needed smile on my face until finally I had forgotten about my previous defeat at the hands of my rival. Once I defeated Lysander inside his cafe, however, something quite unexpected happened. My bottom screen was informing me that I was being challenged by a passerby named Kaiza. I debated for what seemed like an eternity whether or not I would accept this new challenge. In my heart, however, I knew that I needed this. I needed this more than I have ever needed any Pokemon battle before. I accepted his 3-on-3 challenge. I remember the battle in vivid detail. He led with a Greninja, myself with my Lapras. Assuming he would have Protean, I wasn't sure what type he would end up being, so I chose Thunderbolt. Not before his Greninja used U-turn, however, switching into Blastoise. At this point, I was concerned whether or not this team was a significantly younger individual's in-game team thrown together as if it was his first competitive battle. Regardless, my Thunderbolt did about 40 damage to the Blastoise. I couldn't imagine why he switched into Blastoise, so I attempted to poison him with Toxic. He outsped me, though, and after evolving into Mega Blastoise, hit me lightly with Dark Pulse. The Dark Pulse happened to make me flinch. Again, I tried to use Toxic. Again, he used Dark Pulse. Again, I flinched. Only having about 30% health left on Lapras, I switched into Lucario, expecting another Dark Pulse. I was correct. I evolved into Mega Lucario and finished off his Blastoise with close combat. He once again sent out his Greninja. I was fairly certain his Greninja would be faster than my Lucario, even if it was from an in-game team, so I opted for an extreme speed, dealing about 60% damage to Greninja. He retaliated with the Hydro Cannon. This all but proved my suspicions from earlier. My Lucario fainted, and I sent out Lapras for a quick revenge kill with Thunderbolt. His final Pokemon was Leafeon. I figured I may outspeed it, or at least be able to tank a grass attack if indeed these Pokemon weren't EV trained. Alas, he outsped me, and knocked out Lapras with one Leaf Blade. My final Pokemon was Miltank. He attempted to poison me with Toxic, but missed. I hit with my Thunder Wave. Then I used a Power-Up Punch, doing about 5%, but also getting a pair of hacks. I used another Power-Up Punch, only doing about 10%. He then used Leaf Blade, perhaps doing 30%. At this point I was certain the victory was mine, provided no unexpected critical hits occurred. I had Milk Drink as an option if things were about to get too dangerous. It never came to that, however. The screen faded to a gray, and stated that communications had been interrupted. I was about to win my first competitive Pokemon battle on Pokemon X, and my opponent disconnected, resulting in no statistical increase and no self-satisfaction. With no hope left, I deposited the 3 would-be successful Pokemon into my battle box, and attempted to drown my sorrow at the berry patch. My 999 citrus berries couldn't make me happy, and I feared nothing else would either.